Scott, it's exciting times. Triple H says it's going to be a new era of wrestling.
Oh, so it's going to need a new slogan. You got to have a catchy name for it so people know what it is to identify it.
Absolutely.
How about the new generation?
Oh, no, they did that already.
Oh, the new day of wrestling.
No, that's already a tag team. I don't think they're going to do that. It's just a tag team name already.
Oh, okay. Got it. What about TNA?
And what would that stand for?
Totally new era.
Scott, spell era for me.
ARA?
The next era of wrestling today on Pro Wrestling Palskis. Hey, Scott Narver.
Hey, Jake Lloyd Bacon.
Hello to everybody listening. Thanks for joining us for another PWP. Thanks to those joining us live for the super exclusive patron-only live stream, especially Hackensack, Mike Lucas, current PWP world champ. If you want to snag that championship from Mike, well, you got to become a championship level patron over at patreon.com/PWPalskis. That patreon.com/PWPalskis. If I'm not mistaken, let me look at ye old calendar. Next week we'll be picking a new new champion.
Wait a second.
Why'd you
Visually, you have totally okay. You covered it, so I thought you just did a gag where you look behind you like, let me check the calendar here, or it's like a let me check my wristwatch and there's nothing on your arm. Like,
take a look.
Check
See what time it is.
Well, I gotta get going. This party is a little too much. So you do have a calendar there.
It is funny because the wall behind me, for the listeners who are jerks and don't tune in live. I have a completely blank wall in the corner of the room that I'm in, and the only thing that's on it is a very small calendar, and it is directly behind my seat.
Of all things, you used to have a Brawlway celebrating wrestling and all things wrestling with many canceled people. Not that you put them up. They just happened to be there.
Oh, man, it was so hard. I had to draw little circles around everybody who was canceled and put a little C next to it. And people were like, why are you copywriting all these faces? I was like, no, that's a little C in a circle. Oh, damn it.
You're like, well, Vince had a couple of good ideas. Hold on. Why not behind you?
I can't decorate this area. This is a temporary place. I have a calendar, and the reason it's in that spot is because that is the hole that already existed. There was a hole there, and I went, boop, great, put that there.
So you don't have to put thumbtacks through the walls. You could use some sort of stickums.
Come on, I have a little Dr. Manhattan thermos that I put up. I have my salt lamp. What is this? Not enough? Are you not entertained? Is this not enough decor for a live stream?
It's not enough unless how much Dr. Manhattan is on that thermos there.
Thermistor?
Not enough.
What are you talking about?
I've seen the movie.
It's cold out.
Well, then put a hot beverage in there and let them warm up. Here I was saying to our Discord that, hey, don't worry, our clothes are on. Full nudity, full male nudity. Oh, no, is that going to get this show?
Is this going to get us kicked off of YouTube? Look, it's a nice NECA. This is like unused. This is a fancy. I had the whole lunchbox.
Unused.
I just kept this. Yes. Well, you're not really supposed to use these anymore. We've learned that you're not supposed to use stuff with the old plastic because it's like has shit in it that will kill you. But look, it has a little handle cup too. That's true. I mean,
how long do you think you're going to live?
Honestly, like maybe another 20 years, 22 maybe.
You start drinking from that
early
18
60s.
Tops.
All right. Well, this is a wrestling podcast, if you could believe it.
With blue dicks.
Sports guys talking wrestling, talking guys with sport talks. We're kind of keeping it loose today. No very hyper specific topic, something a little bit more grand, a little bit more broad, open-ended. Inspired by something Triple H said. Excuse me. Got a little hiccup there. Let me take a little sippa.
When did Triple H
What if
say
I blew that? What if I just said, inspired by what Triple H said, then I took a sip of coffee and then I spit it straight up into the air like his entrance? That would have
Then you'd have to decorate on that wall because then there'd be coffee spit everywhere.
Oh, man. If only I committed to bits. At the WrestleMania press conferencey thing that they aired a couple
That's what it's called. Back. You don't have to add additional words.
But is that what it's called? It's not called that. It's called the kickoff. WrestleMania kickoff press conference. That's what.
Why didn't they call it a slap off?
Oh, they didn't know ahead of time. They didn't plan those slaps. They happened organically. Did you not know this is all real?
Wrestling should really plan shit ahead of time so that way they know what's going on.
It's honestly, it's what's holding them back.
Yeah, it really is.
He said at that press conference, and I'm paraphrasing, if we were better at doing what we do here, I would have pulled this clip. I would have played it back so we can all listen to it. I'm only thinking of this now. He said, and I paraphrase, that for fucking 40 years, they've been, the standard bearer in all of sports entertainment and pro wrestling, and WrestleMania is incredible, and WWE has been at the forefront of it all, but things are going to change again. He said, WrestleMania, we're taking it to the next level. WrestleMania and beyond is going to be a new era, a week-long WrestleMania. No break, no commercial break, uninterrupted. It's on Netflix now. They don't need commercials. But it's going to be a new era. And we've heard this before. We've heard, but regardless of what he is telling us, we know for a fact, at least, corporately, is that a word?
Well, beyond even corporately, it is a McMahon-less WWE era, which is incredibly significant because all WWE, all WrestleMania previously is a McMahon invention. It's a McMahon run show. It's the McMahon season finale of like all the ideas, like the showrunner, right? If you want to get in the TV 100%. Terms, like it's movie terms, it's not a movie podcast, but all the written, directed, produced McMahon's, and it's now not that. So to acknowledge that without acknowledging it, is what we're going with, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought that it was kind of interesting to think about, like what really is the next era of pro wrestling. Like we have, like you said, a McMahon-less WWE. We have, it's almost become annoying to say because it's become so tropish, but like the forbidden door seems to just kind of be open in ways it was never open before across multiple different companies.
When you look at the poster, because that forbidden door is really a butthole.
Oh, no. It's really, with everything going on in the news in WWE, you would think that they would be smarter to keep anything that creates poop off of a poster.
Yeah, well, that's why it's forbidden.
It depends on who you ask. And so, anyways, things are kind of unprecedented at this point.
Well, and on top of that, something that we haven't really covered in the news, because it's I feel like it's still just developing and there's still stuff going on. We have a McMahon-less WWE. Also, the corporate structure has changed, as you're alluding to. Got Rock on the board of directors.
Just ridiculous. Can you clarify? I know you're working towards a premise here, and I don't want to deter that, but I'm curious because we didn't really talk about The Rock a ton, or if we did, I don't listen when you speak. Rock is a board member of TKO Holdings or of WWE. You don't know either.
I don't want to do that.
I thought you had known because I was curious about.
When Rock showed up, son of a bitch didn't text me back.
I asked Shane Hartline. I think Shane knows him. When he came out on SmackDown a couple of weeks ago and everybody threw a hissy fit, it was like, oh, this is him throwing his weight around in WWE and blah, blah, blah. And everybody started kind of dogging on him there. I was like, I don't know that just because he sits where he sits on TKO that he necessarily could be like, well, now I'm on TV in WWE. I don't think he could just do that. I'm pretty sure.
We found out some stuff in between from what we talked about there, and
yeah,
I didn't know he's getting $30 million, and essentially, like, people were calling out, like, yeah, he might be doing a quick grab and then getting out.
Right.
So I don't know.
So all right.
But
so
right
it
now,
looks like
it's good for the company.
It looks like he was appointed to the board of directors of TKO Group. Okay. So he is actually, so apparently he could just also be in UFC and just fight whoever he wants in UFC. He could just challenge for that championship whenever he wants to.
He
but
could
he's
sit
not
with Joe Rogan and call the action.
Joe Rogames. I guess the point I'm trying to make is I don't think a ton has changed in the WWE board with The Rock coming. It's not like he took someone else's position. People are like, McMahon out, Rock in. And I'm like, I don't think it's exactly like that. I think
the TKO board probably still can go, we're telling you to do this.
Sure.
You make it happen.
Yes, I totally understand that. Yes.
So the day-to-day of it all, yeah, so I don't know, can't speak to that, but it certainly sounds like, yes, he wouldn't be involved necessarily in all WWE decisions on a regular basis. It's more of the, you guys keep it running and I get updated on stuff. And then every so often go, and this shall happen. I agree. But we have a more collective running WWE now.
Right.
With corporate stuff where it's not just on McMahon and then
the audience
dictating to others. This is what's going to go down. So Nick Khan being a major factor of former Hollywood guy.
Right.
And then Ari Gold being in TKO, former Hollywood guy. Rock being a current Hollywood guy.
Right.
That's all very weird and significant of Hollywood people. Before, there's always been talk of like Hollywood writers are working for WWE and it's becoming more movie-like or it's more scripted and it's not as pro wrestling based as it used to be.
Right.
So you got that Hollywood section there, as well as executive people doing stuff. Then over on the TNA side of things, Scott D'Amore gets fired.
Right.
That's going to develop more in the future. So
how long has Scott D'Amore? I mean, is he like been with TNA forever? Impact.
He's come and gone. So in the early days, he was Coach D'Amore of Team Canada. If that rings any bells for you.
Yes, it does.
And then like, I know there's stories of, I'm not a fan of the guy personally. I like the on camera stuff, but he was a dick. That's a story for another time. But there's stories of he tried to overtake the company back in the early days, like when Jeff Jarrett was running it, and he had been let back in, and then whatever has happened now, it sounds shady as hell. I know a lot of people are saying like, well, keep Scott D'Amore. I think he probably did something fucked up, but we'll find out about that soon enough here. But Anthem, who owns TNA, fired him and put in an Anthem executive.
Got it.
In his place. So that's very
that's
unusual.
that's an actual like replacing of personnel. Whereas in WWE, it seems like things shift between TKO and whatnot. Whereas like this is a more direct like, oh, this is a new captain in this ship.
And not a wrestling person, an executive. So seemingly it's not going to go well. Years ago, I was briefly speak on this. New Japan had an executive that they brought in, which caused a lot of fallout and AEW to essentially happen because they lost all the North American talent that they had because they brought in, I think, a former Coca-Cola executive that pissed off a bunch of people.
Oh, no.
Hence, Kenny left, Young Bucks left, and others just went like, this guy's a fucking idiot. We hate him. We can't stand him. A lot of the Japanese guys stayed because it's like, this is our backyard. So like, this is what we got. And it's harder for us to get a gig somewhere else not speaking the language.
Right.
But he drove off a whole bunch of fucking people and helped further ruin the progress of New Japan Pro Wrestling coming to America. And now, what's the other company called? Fucking
which one?
Stardom.
Stardom. Yeah.
They lost their head of operations, and whether that's a firing or what, I don't know. But there's been a bunch of fucking shit that's happened here with executives making decisions about pro wrestling.
Right.
Like about these territories, big or small.
Right.
And saying like, no, you're not doing it this way. We're telling you what to do. This to me is part of this next generation of all this wrestling that feels very unique, because we've had the stories in the past of like Jim Hurd was the executive thrown into WCW saying the dumb shit like Ric Flair needs to cut his hair. And
yeah, totally.
This guy should be on TV. This gimmick should change. And everyone's like, you're fucking out of your mind. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're
like no idea what works, no idea what doesn't work. It's an outsider. It's that whole, and I don't mean Scott Hall or Kevin Nash. I mean an actual outsider from the industry coming in and doing something. Now, I think the thing that's different about somebody like Nick Khan is while he's an outsider, the way that the hierarchy of WWE worked, he was reporting to Vince in creative at that point. So it wasn't like he came in and was like writing television.
No, but he was the guy that came in and fired everybody.
Sure.
He was the cost guy, because everyone speculated he's the guy getting them ready for a sale. They're going to sell because he's going to come in and make cuts and make it presentable. So he looked at, since he says like, oh, I'm a fan, I've loved it ever since I was a kid, and does all the rigmarole of like, oh yeah, I buy it. And then you listen to him and you go, yeah, but you don't watch. You like the idea of this, and you go, yeah, it's fine. It's a great show. They put on a wonderful show. You're right. But you don't give a shit. Like, it doesn't matter. So he's looking at numbers like back when he strolled in, he's looking at a Braun Strowman contract and going, we're giving this guy X amount of dollars.
Right.
This long and to do this. If we cut him and we cut these other 20 people, this saves us X amount of money. We get these bonuses. We look better. We're more profitable, and it's fine. And other people would be like, whoa, we got plans and we put a lot into them. It's like, you can hire him later at less money, or you've got all these other people, do something with them. Like, it doesn't, it's all fucking clinical with him. Doesn't matter. He's not invested. He's not a Pritchard. He's not a Hayes. He's not a somebody else going like, you don't get it. Or I know him. Don't cut him. Like he's a brother to me.
Sure. Yeah. So it's all business.
He's a fucking huge asset in that way.
Shark. Yeah. I mean, he himself took two people's jobs, didn't he? Like, wasn't his role two people before he came in and was like, well, we're going to consolidate this. This doesn't need to be two paychecks.
Probably. And he's received crazy fucking bonuses since.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, so I guess the question is now is like, how does this all translate to the on-screen product, right? Does that, if we're going to call it the Hollywood corporate era, right? Corporate Hollywood era.
It's kind of like, we're dipping our toes in here.
Does it, I've been saying for a really long time that WrestleMania is too big for pro wrestling, right? That's been the thing I've been saying forever, where I'm just like, there's a reason why we tend to feel let down at WrestleMania, because it's no longer, at least it feels no longer about the wrestling story we've been watching week to week on Monday Night Raw, and more about, let's get as many eyes on this one day as possible, regardless of what else, is happening. It's felt
and
that
the
way.
CM Punk effect that he called out is,
right.
You're here day in, day out, every week, and you think you're going to get this, and the crowd's behind you. But look, some star that showed up who hasn't been around for a few years comes and takes your spot. So now that that's been played, flat out laid out for everyone to know, and played in packages, and it's a meme, everyone knows it, and that's also part of the equation of it's WrestleMania is too big for wrestling because while you expected the megastar to come back before, now we're meant to resent it.
Right. In fact, you even had your hero on TV and John Cena post CM Punk saying that same shit to Rock when Rock came back that one time and won the championship. So like, it is interesting. But the point I was getting to make, I think, is sorry, I just got distracted. Alexandra just texted me and said that my car didn't start, and now I'm distracted. I apologize. I'm like, why? I'm live. Can you not do this right now? It's not that important.
Live chat. If you have any jumper cables,
seriously,
that'd be appreciated.
Okay, I had a point. What I was gonna say. We're focusing. We're here. We're in it. We're doing it together. WrestleMania has been too big for wrestling for a while. Are we at risk of every week wrestling becoming too big for wrestling? Are we at risk of the desire to grandize, Hollywoodize everything? Everything needs to be the big thing and needs to be the spectacle, the fucking Marvel effect. Do you know what I mean? That like everything needs to be an Avengers level event is what we call it in the you know the nerd world. Like, is that going to start negatively affecting just our week to week product?
That could certainly be the expectation of all things corporate, right? Because they go, why are we dipping right now? Because we just naturally do. Like, the wrestling business has ebbs and flows.
Right.
But if we make sure I don't know, what do you want to be good? Your ebb or your flow? Like, what do you...
Flow is good. Flow is output. Ebb is drying up.
So you don't want to ebb?
Although I guess if the water is ebbing, it's coming to you.
Okay.
And if it's flowing, yeah, you know what? It depends on what side of the ground you're standing on, I suppose. Depends on what side.
So if you got a crimson mask, you want it to flow, but you don't want it to ebb. If it ebbs up, then everybody's like, "Oh, that's what a puss."
Okay.
The guy can't bleed. Like, he stopped bleeding. That's not Stone Cold. Stone Cold kept flowing. He didn't ebb.
Surprised there hasn't been an NXT tag team named Ebb and Flow.
It's tricky, right? Because
it's tricky to walk
anybody who's running these that knows, like, that would be in the business. Obviously, you want it to be flowing forever, but realistically that's not the case. But as we've seen with many a thing lately, that in entertainment, corporate people don't like that, and they'll sooner cut their losses. Like with the Warner Brothers, right? Like, we've got these movies.
Right.
They're done. They're ready to be seen. One's got fucking John Cena in it. One's got Brendan Fraser making a big comeback, and they go, no, let's just cut it and
we
get
can't
a bunch
afford
of tax money for it.
We can't afford to advertise it. We don't think it's going to make money back. We're going to just get tax
like
refunds
the
for this.
Nick Khan of it all, right? Like, I don't care what gets us money for this. We can keep making things. Like, people will be upset, but they'll get over it because we'll just say Batman, or we'll say Rock, or we'll say one word that'll make them forget.
Yep.
So I think they have that ability, but I feel like that's very likely in all that we're talking about with the corporate side of it all will be upset that if things don't turn over, we'll do like weird panicky moves of like, fine, then bring this person out and do something.
What I'm thinking of?
It'll be Russo-ish, right? Like, they'll do something crazy.
Okay. I was going to say, you want to know what this all kind of feels like? It feels like the first SmackDown on Fox, Kofi losing to Brock on that. Like, that's what it feels like. Like, that's going to just become what's happening. Like, it won't be Brock at this point, but it will be,
But remember the other part of that equation, because it wasn't just Brock winning, beating Kofi in however many seconds.
Sure.
It was Cain Velasquez then coming out.
Right. Yep. The big UFC star, the big crossover, Fox Sports. Yeah.
That was a major factor in all of that. It's, that wrestler's been here day in and day out and the crowd loves him. Like, yeah, but we got something bigger. We're doing this thing. And then when you have the UFC of it all currently, that's makes that scenario even more likely to happen, where you might think in the past, like, oh, that was a Vince thing. They might all think that's a great fucking idea now.
Yeah.
It's more stars.
I will say it, like, I know that I can point to NXT's golden era and my love for it and my love for the
2.0.
booking and my love for the style. No, 3.0 actually. I like it. They even added even more colors. It's called NXT Ever Rise. I can point to that and be like, I like the way Triple H does business, right? Because we were at least led to believe a lot of that was his baby. It was his product. It was him at the helm of it, him at the helmsley of it. And so I can look at that and go, well, I like Triple H's booking. I like him. He'll be good for wrestling. But NXT at Full Sail isn't main roster WWE. The things that work there don't necessarily work in the main roster. That's why we've seen so much talent, come up and get lost, because it's a different product. It's small, it's intimate, it's a very slick indie wrestling product was what that NXT was that Triple H does, and he did that exceptionally.
It was low stakes as far as all things business. Tickets, I think they might have still sold tickets for that, but later they didn't.
Yeah, it was the regulars that just
It's so there's. It was grooming people. If you got a roster of 20, you got to make sure 2 of them are going to be ready to go at any point when they want to get pulled.
Right.
And I'm sure the stress and juggling of it all, right, is like, I got to lose my fucking top stars any minute.
And one could argue that stress is what created so many diamonds down there. You know what I mean? Like, it was that pressure that forced this nice change, whereas there's a little bit more freedom. There's, you have time. There's,
that's any developmental.
Sure.
Really.
Sure.
It's, but compared to other developmentals where those other developmentals are independently operating, like an OVW or FCW, and they get people, they have to harness the stars coming in to help make the developmental people ready to go away, but still maintain their show, their live attendance, and all that stuff. Triple H had part of that equation removed. Like, this will exist because it's run by the WWE.
Right.
I don't have to worry about selling tickets to fucking Poughkeepsie, Florida. Like, we're fine.
Right. Sure. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess in that capacity, like, there's a big difference in the brand of pressure and the type of pressure. But anyways, the point I was trying to make was I can point to that and I can say Triple H equals good, but this really is truly an unprecedented era, because for everything that felt like Triple H had a creative, he started bringing in he brought his kids back at that main, we talked about him bringing all the kids back, quote, post Vince, but then we learned, Vince is actually showing up to shows, or Vince changed something. And it was clear that Vince was still pulling some strings. At the end of the day, he might have been, Triple H might have been, quote, running creative, but he still had to jump over that hurdle that was Vince K. McMahon. This is truly unprecedented, where his only hurdles now are going to be, is TKO Holdings happy with his product? And he is the creative,
they happy with his numbers.
Yeah.
They might not give a shit. Like, everybody loves the show.
Yeah.
But if they aren't buying it, if they're not,
and what is
certain numbers might just make them upset. But he's like, the approval rating, like, everyone fucking loves it.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to think that because of UFC, and I know that wrestling is not fucking a sport, but one would hope that TKO understands that ebb and flow we spoke about, and also understands, like, the way interests shift. And, I'm sure that people who are tuning into UFC fights aren't that dissimilar to people tuning into WWE what are they called? PLEs now, in that some people are there for everyone. Some people are only there when a guy they like is involved. Some people are only there because they fell into it this month and they gave it a shot and they're not going to be there next month. Like, it's probably a similar type of audience. And so one can only hope that, like, as long as it's not like, oh, this week AEW beat WWE and all thing, I'm sure that they'll be satisfied. Right.
Yeah. Cause I think competition wise, they know we're fine.
Right.
there is nothing competing with us right now.
Right.
They also know everyone wants to come here. Like that has changed since Vince is not around. So any of the previous NXT people that were affiliated with Triple H or go like, this guy gets me. He liked me and he was doing something with me, but then the other guy didn't. So I left for a better opportunity, more money.
You're talking about Christian.
Shittily.
Christian, right? You're talking about Christian. He was like, the Vince guy. Fuck, I don't like that guy. Doesn't like me. No,
so there's
totally.
There's a lot of that where we're going to see in the next couple of years, because it's tricky. I'm sure that he's going to get a lot of phone calls like, hey, I'm ready to come back. Like we saw Andrade come back. And how many of those can you take at the end of the day? And Triple H Paul Triple H Levesque, acknowledging, hey, I can use you or I can't use you right now. I'm not trying to turn you away, but you were too late.
We don't have room for you at the moment. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
So,
and how do you think that the talent shifts in this next era? Like, I do feel like we're in a much better position now than we were a few years back, where it felt like there weren't any big stars in the company, where it felt like you needed the Goldbergs to show up and the Brocks to show up because it didn't feel like you had that. I do think we're in a much better position now. I think Roman, he fucking has stepped up and they've built him in a way that he does feel like a star now. I know that you're not a huge fan of Seth, but I do think like Seth proves
he's a major
to be
player, no doubt.
He is.
So we got those two.
Yeah.
Gunther's he is at a very high spot, about to be massive. He's going to be with one of those guys. So I count him on the list of like,
totally.
That's coming in the next year.
The type of people who make us excited, right? Cody.
Right. Put the asses in the seats. Cody, yes. Punk.
Cody will put asses in the seat. Punk, obviously, is their turning guy. Drew is getting there now with this fucking new version.
Drew's on the same path as like a Gunther, but just with different means.
Right. You still have Orton in the mix, even though like, he's still a legend, like Orton's still in the mix. AJ Styles is there. And even though his booking is on or off at any given point, if they want to put him in a giant main event, he's AJ fucking Styles. Everybody will go, yeah, that's AJ Styles. Like, they've got a stacked. I mean, and when this isn't even counting.
LA Knight's another one on the rise.
And then there are these people who
they're doing a really good job right now. They have people on the rise that feel like it haven't come to fruition. I know we talked about it last week. I'll briefly recap it here, where 2000 teens, especially, there were people on the rise, but then Vince seemed to put the kibosh on it. It's like, no, we don't see it. They're at this level forever. Feels like all these people that are at that middle level are, if they're delivering, they can be at the top.
Right.
And we're gonna get that, and we're gonna have a lot of major players again, which is fucking exciting.
It also feels like maybe people are having a little bit more room to fail right now. And I don't mean that like if you fail, like something was so bad that we're going to keep doing it, but more so like, oh, we can dip our toe in places that if it doesn't work, okay, that's fine. We can always fucking course correct in a way that's realistic. And whereas it definitely felt like this is what we're doing now. And if you don't like it too fucking bad was kind of that 2010s era.
Everything had such a safety net to it. I totally agree with that idea of the, it's okay we can have some failures.
Right. And on TV.
We won't blame it on the people.
Not just on fucking YouTube. I think of Fandango and Breeze as a great example of like, Vince had this fucking Fandango idea, right? And it didn't fucking work. Like, it worked because we liked the song, but it didn't really truly work as a character. And then Breeze comes up from NXT, and these guys find this thing that becomes so much more successful, not on TV, on their broadcast product, that they then kind of had to like figure out how to make work. Like, fucking Fashion Police was so good and so fun. And I know that we're talking a different brand of talent versus the huge stars we were just referencing, but this is just an example of that. Like, I feel like nowadays they'd get a shot to do that day one. If they were like, we have this thing, We really like it. We think it's fun. We think people like. I think that Triple H and whoever else will probably is more likely to be like, no, we don't have to put that on YouTube. Yeah, let's give you a few minutes tonight and see how the audience reacts.
I certainly think the benefit of Triple H right now is he's probably far more accessible and far more open to things like this.
Right.
Much like Vince was in the early days. Like there was a certain point. I don't know at what year I'd say that it is, but the days of old, like Vince's door was open. You could go talk to him about what was going on. You could do that. Attitude Era-ish. I think it's sometime after that.
I think slightly after the Attitude Era is when that ended.
It's huge. He's fucking doing everything, and he's done it forever. And how many times do you have to talk to somebody and be like, no, it's my fucking idea. It's my show, asshole. Like, you do what I say. And the door shut. You hear the Dean Ambroses of it all, like talking. Right. It's like, I waited out for hours, and
CM Punk.
Then I go in for 20 minutes, and
he
Jedi mind tricks me. So it's this stage of Paul is great for the talent.
Yeah.
If you've got ideas and everything, and there's probably a team to filter through and go like, that's great. There's not so much, and to work with it. Like we're seeing with the Drew and others, where there's probably a lot more collaboration going on right now than just dictation.
Yeah. And there is something to be said too about how strong the mid card is. So you have those top guys on the rise, and then you have a mid card that at any given point can just tag in. Don't mean that in a wrestling sense. You get what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you've got like your Shinsuke Nakamura's, KO and Sammy.
They're reliable.
These insanely reliable talents who at any given point you could be like, yeah, we're going to put you in a program with Roman or with Drew or with whoever the champion might be, Seth, like Cody even. And it doesn't feel like, oh man, this is really lacking that star power.
It's the nice shifting of the spotlight that you can go, hey, you can sit back for a little bit, or we'll put you in a little side feud and you can be over there, but that gives this person a chance to be doing this. It's a nice shifting, so it feels different. And that's the tough part of it all, right? Like what the show used to be of recapping all the shit that went on, all the TV shows, the 3 hours of this, the 2 hours of that.
Right.
So I still think you're going to get fatigue and burnout from if you're the fan that consumes it all.
Right.
And that's still the detriment to them. But that's the corporate side of it, right? Like that makes too much money to have 3 hours of Raw with all that advertising and this, to do this show, do that show. So that's still the tricky part of it. I think that's going to still hurt them for everybody wanting to consume everything.
Sure. Of course.
And
also, we haven't even talked about this. Like, we're going to Netflix next year. Like,
we are
for Raw.
Holy shit. Yeah. We're going to Netflix.
Yeah. Did I not tell you this?
You got to decorate that fucking wall.
$5 billion. They gave
to decorate your wall. Yeah. Okay. Plasma something. One of those 3D pictures that you unfocus the eyes and
a
you
magic
see
eye. You want me to get a magic eye?
Yeah, get a magic eye.
$5 billion magic eye. Yes. But going to Netflix is also going to be a very big change because you're not going to be holding to those. Like I'm sure they're still going to have sponsors because it's going to be, brought to you by Snickers, the on-screen, on-air commercials. But we're no longer going to be cutting to commercial. Like there's not going to be a fucking proper broadcast. You think that there's going to be broadcast style commercial breaks?
Well, Netflix has just recently added commercials.
Oh, all right. So you think
so
that
on their lowest tier, which I have because I get Netflix through T-Mobile.
Okay.
Right. That's one of the things of like, hey, you got T-Mobile, you can have access to a couple of different streaming services.
Right.
So it was one of the things I hadn't really used. And then I started utilizing it. And then recently, like that announcement came out, like Netflix has their own ads. So you get it for free at the pay level that it is.
Right.
If you bump it up to this one, you can get no ads.
Right.
If you bump it up to this one, you get no ads in 4K. If you bump it up to this one, you get 4K, no ads. And then you can have it playing on X amount of devices.
Right.
And they have all these different tiers of it.
For live events.
They run their own ads though.
Right.
In program.
Okay, so For live events, though, everybody's going to have ads. It's just going to be whether or not you're seeing the ads Netflix runs or whatever WWE decides to show you. Sort of like Peacock Premium. People who don't have Peacock Premium, they get actual ads, but we get but I just get like a vignette about Gunther. Like that's what they do to fill the space. Yeah.
Right. So though I think, yes, there will still be something. Someone's getting paid for some fucking ad revenue somewhere or another.
The other thing too is like, one could argue that I'm in no fucking desire for, quote, Attitude Era to come back. I wouldn't mind a little bit more attitude in the product. And I think that we're seeing that a little bit. Oh no. KO has been doing crotch chops for a while. Yeah, he's chopping crotches everywhere.
He's a regular young buck. He's stealing everybody's shit.
Oh my gosh. Too much of everything. No, what did I say before? All the things, too many things. We've seen a little bit of the loosening the grasp on some of the language on TV, like, you know, Rock and Cody and Roman, that we've been dropping some bad language. We had, you know, there's some foul language occurring, more
Chicken,
than
turkey,
not excessive. But like when it felt like, hey, we can throw that out there and it'll be impactful. Netflix, there's going to be they're still going to have to make, you know,
within a rating.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch happy, though. Do you know what I mean? Like whoever the sponsors are, they're still going to have to like make them happy, but they're not going to have to confine to a television rating because the television ratings are different on
Netflix rating because they're still categorized, right?
Yeah,
like,
but it's not
you family. Are you this? Are you that?
Yeah, but it's their own thing. And they're not going to be made to hit any of those ratings. They're just going to receive whatever rating they are. Whereas on TV, you have to hit this specific rating.
Yeah. So whether it's an acknowledgement of like, hey, in the first hour,
this
is our family friendly hour. These sponsors, this is where your content
this is where like be. Your PG or whatever it is, your family.
And later on, it certainly could work all that way.
Yeah. So that also could mean some really big change for the product and the talent, because they might just, you know, be able to flex a different side of whatever it is they like flexing. And I'm talking about their butts.
Yeah, butt flex.
What do you? Oh God, do you have a thought? I was going to ask a question.
That's an interesting element to all of it too, right? It's what is this different platform allow them to do that's not television? Because we've seen a benefit of when they weren't on pay-per-view anymore, when WWE wasn't on pay-per-view anymore, they had the benefit to say when they wanted to go our not pay-per-view before it was a premium live event, it's going to go longer than 3.5 hours.
Right.
It's going to go 4 hours and 12 minutes.
Right.
Because we said so. Because it's on our network.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It could go as long as we want.
Yeah, we just have to figure out programming in the live of it all, right? Like, hey, what is our everything slated? Primetime Wrestling was going to come on right after this. Like, what? Right. How does that person in the booth going like, hey, what the fuck? I had this all fucking set up ready to go. I was playing games on my phone. Like, yeah, you gotta deal with it in real time, buddy.
Gotta be a little quicker.
So they had that benefit where they could start to change that because they could do whatever they want. Netflix might allow them something else, like you're saying, could be something else we're not thinking of that they could do that the TV has restricted them from.
And it also might allow them to essentially test waters of other sort of synergy, whereas like we talk about all the affiliate matches and all of the branded matches we've got, right? A lot of that stuff still has to be approved out over network they're on. So USA, if they're on USA, you're not going to be able to air a branded content with something that maybe is, I don't know, an NBC program or whatever like the affiliates are, the overarching corporate umbrellas. Everything is only like 3 companies now anyway, but they might be able to kind of branch out and play more with other branded content. It might open the door for other sponsorships and other synergy sort of matches, whatever the fuck we called those things. because I don't think Netflix is going to be nearly as rigid about who it is they can or cannot work with. Or it's just a bunch more
Netflix shit.
Or it's just all Netflix stuff.
It's the Adam Sandler match. Hey, this week it's another Adam Sandler movie that's come out.
He's got his
friends.
He just signed another 40 movie deal.
It's the Do-Over 6. That's fresh in my mind. I recently watched the Do-Over, and I was like, all right, I'll watch one of the 1,000 Sandler movies that Netflix has paid for.
Some of them are better than others. The Do-Over was fine. The Do-Over was good. I like that. It was the one with Spade, right?
Yeah, Sandler and Spade.
Yeah.
Because much like my WWE films formula, where it's like you have to have two of them in there.
Right.
Let us have two. Let us see them do something a little bit different. Right. One can be in type and one has to be a little bit against type. But if you put in two, the fans are going to be happy. If you do one, that's a lot of pressure for one wrestler to deliver the entire time on something,
Well, let's end it here because it's always fun for us to speculate and be creative.
Unlike these corporate fuckers who are taking over all of wrestling.
What do we call the new era of wrestling? So we've had all of the like sub generations, I suppose, have been these in WWE specifically. The golden era was 80 to 93. The new generation was 93 to 97. The Attitude Era, 97 to 02. Ruthless Aggression, 02 to 08. PG, 08 to 2014. The Reality Era was 14 to 16. The New Era, which, I mean, we have new generation. Come on. That is 16 to 2021. As of right now, they're simply referring to this as the post-COVID era, but there's no name for it. What do we call this era of, is this the post McMahon era?
Well, we got one suggestion in our chat.
Alex Pierce in the chat says integrations, ruthless integrations.
The ruthless integrations era. I do like that one. That's very funny.
You have to say it. You have to say it like that though.
I mean, it seems like it's the corporate era.
Corporate right era, now, right?
Which is a nicer way of saying what Alex is saying, but
right.
With all the stuff we talked about before with Anthem, with Stardom, with New Japan, with WWE, this is currently corporately run.
Yeah.
Like however we want to perceive The Rock, like that shit's corporate.
Yeah.
He's a corporate dude doing corporate moves. Triple H is this chief content officer, right? Is that it?
I hate when they say it, but yes, the chief content officer. I hate the fact that content is in his fucking title and they say that on TV. It is so irritating to me as somebody who wants my pro wrestling to seem like a fighting company on TV. Do you know what I mean? Like that.
But even that title is like, that's a corporate title.
Oh, 100%. Call him.
So
he was
not.
They were calling him the COO for a while. Operations officer. That makes sense. Oh, okay. He's an officer of operations. Like it doesn't matter.
It wasn't really his job, right?
Right.
Like he had a fake title on TV, but a different title in real life. So that's what I mean. It's like we're seeing corporate. We're seeing the sponsorships, the integrations, and all that, and that is a major part of this era as well. But that still is like a corporate move to me.
Yeah.
Like that's how I perceive it.
Yeah, the corporate era.
So it's weird because WWE, I feel, has had the practice, had the time, and still has enough players involved in their corporate structure to make it work, while all the other companies that do the corporate takeovers aren't going to work. It's going to fall flat on its fucking face. They're not going to get along. They're not going to understand wrestlers, corporate people alike, them talking to each other. We've talked to wrestlers in our lifetime as humans, and it doesn't work. They're fucking weirdos. And then when you get into the business side of shit, they're way fucking weird.
Yeah.
And carny, like carnies and corporate don't go along. They didn't coexist. No. It's fucking dinosaurs and caveman. They didn't exist at the same time. Corporate and carnies don't mesh.
Because carnies don't care about oversight. Carnies don't, there's no quality control for a carny. Okay.
Right.
And corporate oversight,
but you got,
or not corporate oversight, corporate control. Yeah.
But you got one carny in the corporate side of things, because Rock's no longer a carny. Like, he's out of it.
Come on now. He's Moana or he's what's his name? Maui, for Christ's sakes. At some point.
He's Mr. San Andreas.
Yeah. It's all his fault. See what I did there?
Yeah, he's got 1 foot in the whole thing. Oh wait, that's the other one, right? That's the fucking
1 foot in the whole thing. I didn't get it.
The what's the building?
Skyscraper.
Falling down.
His movie Skyscraper.
Yeah, he's got 1 foot in the game. That's because he has a leg in that. Triple H is a carny.
Yeah.
So he's the one carny that's still involved in all this, but he's been doing both long enough now,
and he's like
he's Aquaman. He can exist in both. He can breathe underwater and he can fucking breathe on land.
The enlightened carny. He's like the carny who read a book.
Yeah. So nobody else has that.
No.
Nobody else has been around long enough in any of these other companies to make that happen. Tony Khan is still
certainly not Tony Khan.
Green around the gills when comes to what he's been doing, and it's not. Nobody has it. Nobody else has it. So that's why I don't think any of these other corporate things are going to last with wrestling. That it's either going to keep changing hands through corporate people, and wrestlers are going to keep showing up trying to get money or keep the job, or it's going to revert to some other wrestler comes in. But I can't imagine corporate people giving control back.
All right.
You know,
I mean, it's not going to be about giving control back. It's going to be about cutting losses and wrapping it up for them. So if it's going to, like, let's say TKO, I don't think it's that, but let's say TKO is unsatisfied. It's going to be like, great, we're going to sell WWE or just shut it down. Right. Cause if they have a problem with it for an extended period of time, they're going to ensure that they don't lose money, and whatever that looks like, whether that means like, we're going to fucking sell it to you, Triple H. And then it's just, they're on their own and they're just an independent company again. Like, I don't think it'll ever happen, of course, but hypothetically speaking, that's what would happen. I think you're more likely to see that over on the side of like AEW or with TNA or something like that, where it's just, I mean, we've already seen it with TNA with stuff like Anthem and other companies who've come in and you know, essentially bought and sold.
But they, with Anthem, was it Nordberg? I'm trying to remember the guy's name who was head of Anthem at the time, was acknowledging whatever happens, we're not going to sell it because the catalog is worth far too much money.
Yep. We would rather just
get rid of. We know we can make X amount of dollars forever selling this catalog to the fan base.
Right. Yeah.
So if that whole structure, but yeah, whether they kill these things at some point because they look at it as just too big of a loss, or do they forever try and keep it going, or they're forever wrestlers, or we've seen the wrestlers become influencers, right? Like we've seen Zack Ryder become the influencer. We've seen Xavier Wood become the influencer. We've seen these people learn a whole new skill. Colt Cabana.
Right.
Where it's, I'm going to look in the world and see, like, there's podcasts, there's gaming videos. Like, I'm going to be a part of this world and show that I can make a fan base for myself when the wrestling world won't do it. Will we start to see more wrestlers take on corporate jobs or take like corporate fucking training and become these people?
And furthermore, has Triple H and some of his contemporaries set the standard for that? Because it's always, like you said, it's all carnies. And so it's always, they keep it in the family. But now it's less about, I want to do what Road Dogg did and become a trainer or a segment producer. Instead, it's going to be like, no, I want to figure out like, hey, like I got injured, or like a Corey Graves, instead of hop into commentary, he's like, well, let's see, maybe I can own stakes in this company instead. Like, is that how they interact with this business that they love? Versus,
hey, Tony Khan. Yeah. Right. Oh, did you want to come wrestle for me? Like, no, I know you had Cody as an EVP, and I know you have Omega in the Bucks.
Right.
You have a void of an EVP, right? Like, I'd like to fill that role. Oh, but don't you want to wrestle for me? No. I'll hug you all the same.
Sure. Yeah.
If you give me an EVP job.
You can still sell my action figure. It's just I'm not going to come out on your show.
Like, as much as Jericho has done and all the things that he participated in, that's the one now, as we're having this conversation, I go, I'm kind of surprised he wasn't ahead of this whole thing to actually take on that role.
I think
I don't know what it is,
but
I'll do it because, long term, this could be fucking gravy.
Yeah, but I think that it's too much work for Jericho. I think Jericho likes to have all of the things he does, and he wants to host fucking game shows, and he wants to tour with his fucking band and sing covers off key and have a cruise and dress like Ronald McDonald. Like, I think he has all of these things he wants to do, and I think he was just never going to be. If anything, I think working at WWE and seeing WWE corporate probably put him off of ever having a job like that.
But he could have set the standard for what a EVP in AEW could have been while making fucking corporate money.
But I don't think he's smart.
And saying,
he's not smart enough.
I'm this level of EVP, so I do these things.
Right.
And I give him a lot of credit for being so fucking savvy with all this stuff.
Sure.
I wonder if he kicks himself and going like, shit.
Yeah. It's not too late, too. He might just be like, I mean, I don't know what his relationship is like with Paul Levesque and WWE, but I feel like whatever his career wrap up is at this point, maybe he does just, I'm just going to stay here at AEW. I'm just going to fucking take on a corporate position here.
Yeah, that's that one where it's, WWE is this, and I realize they have a lot of my catalog and all that, but
not going to get that.
He's got
Hall
so
of
much
Fame
prowess and money.
Yeah, not going to get that Hall of Fame call while he's there, but
he'll just go, we're making an AEW Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And I'm the first one in, bitches.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm the new EVP.
Oh.
Thanks to Alex Pierce in the chat. Let me know. Ed Nordholm.
Yeah, you said Nordbird, and I was like, tell me, the guy that runs Anthem, the owl company's name is not Bird.
Well, it could have been.
Lots of speculation. It's a definitely exciting and strange and unprecedented times.
We want to know, call the hotline, 747-666-5606. That's a Pro Wrestling Palskis hotline. It's always open, 24/7. You can always call, leave a message. What do you think this era of wrestling should be labeled as?
Right.
What do you see it as being? Funny, serious?
Whatever you want.
Answers are welcome.
I love that call to action. Yeah, call us up. Let us know what you think the current generation or next generation should be titled on the.
I'm going the corporate
on the Wikipedia page. Corporate era. You go corporate. I'm gonna go. I still like. Well, see, they're not gonna call it post McMahon because they're not gonna say McMahon. So I think I'm just gonna call it the Levesque era.
PM?
The Levesque era.
Okay. I do love Ruthless Integrations.
Ruthless Integrations so far is the winner. We will be picking a winner, and the winner will receive absolutely nothing. Unlike the current PWP champ, Mike Lucas, aka Hackensack, champ for the month of February, will defend that title on the next episode. If you would like to challenge, you got to become a championship Palski over at patreon.com/PW Palskis. We'll have our match next week to discover who our March champ will be. And the winner of that, the champion, gets an item they're choosing from the shop over at dragonwagonshop.com, as well as
now includes
your name
hoodies.
And lights. As well as your name and lights on the live feeds and in the Discord. And you get to pick a watch along for us to watch, which now has a video version of the watch along. We are now officially in the thick of it. It took us a couple weeks. because, sometimes we don't record them all in perfect order. And so we've hopped back and forth where I seemed like there were a couple weeks where it seemed like we had it figured out. And then we reverted for a week there because it was something we recorded beforehand. But I think we've got the rhythm now. We've got the flow. Feel the rhythm, feel the flow. Get on up. Let's fucking go. Video watch-alongs are live over on the Patreon. So if you've never enjoyed listening to the watch-along series because you were like, well, I don't really want to sit and watch my TV, or you have a problem with the syncing of it, no worries. Now you just got to turn on your phone, watch it. You'll see the match right there with us in the corners, fucking yapping wrestling.
And we have themes all this year.
Yes, monthly.
We're
themes.
Currently in the theme of the Year of the Dragon. So as of right now, I can say for sure that we've watched Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Tully Blanchard.
Yes.
We've watched the Judy Bagwell on a forklift match.
Yes, a damsel in distress.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Dragon theme. So it was Kanyon versus Buff Bagwell. It's been a good month so far, and there's more good stuff to come.
Absolutely. So all of that stuff, as well as access to these live streams, is all at patreon.com/PWPalskis. Please consider becoming a patron of the show if you enjoy what we do here and you want to be a member of the community, because ultimately that's our goal, is just to create a community of like-minded pro wrestling nerds who can all celebrate this ridiculous art form together in a positive way for the most part. With that said, we have to thank our current Patreon Palskis, Scott Narver.
Yes, the only show that hands out retribution names as well as maximum male model names. Why? Because no one asked. Thank you to AJ0314, aka Binary, aka Matrice69, Alex Pierce, aka Figs, aka Zitoys, Alice Raider, aka Invasion, aka Yves Joie, Andrew Beeler, aka Pollen Hate, aka Achu Detest, Curtis Mason, aka Hurtus, aka Ouche, Gilbert Short, aka Goliathon, aka Batal Under Ruse, Matt Slama, a.k.a. Spitz, a.k.a. Jakara Lover, Michael Beltran, a.k.a. Limestone, a.k.a. La Natural, Miguel Diaz, a.k.a. Bipod, a.k.a. Too Much Husk, Mike Lucas, a.k.a. Hackensack, a.k.a. Luger Testicle, a.k.a. The Current PWP Champ, Suicide, a.k.a. A.K.A. Tim Bemis, a.k.a. War Trek, a.k.a. Tussle Quest, Tim Redbeard, a.k.a. Blood Fuzz, a.k.a. Blue de Fuse, Tom Hader, a.k.a. Cupid, a.k.a. Cherub, and Tony Griggs, a.k.a. Big Griggs, a.k.a. Grand Grisois.
Thanks to each and every one of you for continued support of the program. That'll do it for this week. Please find us on the social medias at PW Palskis. Check out the shop now. Snag yourself some sweet PWP merchandise, as well as some Dragon Wagon Radio merchandise. Next month, we will be celebrating the 7-year anniversary of Dragon Wagon Radio.
Shit.
We hope that you guys
Will there be cake?
Have all of your parties planned. Yeah, sure. Let's just say yes. Why not? I'm gonna play
the cake. What else?
I'm gonna play the band Cake. We're gonna play a couple songs from the band Cake on air, and then
where did they go?
And then get pulled from all of streaming platforms. What do you mean, where did they go? They're still around. They released an album.
Are they still doing stuff?
Not that long ago. Yeah, they were one of my favorite bands. They're fucking fantastic. And what else do we do?
Here's a perfect way to celebrate 7th year anniversary of Dragon Wagon Radio.
What's that? How's that? What's that? We'll do what?
It's the year of Hot Dogomania.
Hot Dogomania! Snag yourself a Hot Dogomania shirt. Available now at DragonWagonShop.com.
Those summer cookouts are going to be rolling around the corner before you know it. And you can't not show up to the neighborhood cookout without a Hot Dogomania shirt. And everyone go, whoa. Is that fucking a Hulk Hogan hot dog? Where the hell did you get that shirt? That's amazing. And you go, oh, Dragon Wagon Radio. That's where I got it.
Fuck yeah.
Let us become corporate is basically what I'm trying to say, folks. But you gotta start wearing those shirts and wear them out in the street so everybody goes like, God damn, I gotta get me one of those shirts. We make so much money, we become corporate. And then we can work for Ed Nordholm.
And then you know what else we'll have at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Ruthless integrations.
Yeah, this episode brought to you by Target.
Fucking ruthlessly, though.
Yeah.
All right, kids. Thank you guys for joining us. We will see you next week. We hope you had fun. It's always a blast hanging out with you, the Pro Wrestling Palskis.
Internet! I'm Coy Jandro, a Bostonian who loves pop culture, comic books, and people. And I host Coycast. It's a podcast about all those things. If it fits in on a con floor, we talk about it on Coycast. Myself and producer Jake do previews, reviews, deep dives, and tinfoil hat theories about everything from movies, TV, and the comic books themselves. I also like to dish out comic recommendations from my 100-plus pull list a week so you know what's best to buy. So join us, True Believer, on Coycast.com or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now.
Dragon Wagon.